let's talk about some basic functionality that allows Squarespace to work the way that it does. Squarespace is divided into 12 columns. You can't see them, but they're there. So you can imagine as though Squarespace has these imaginary lines that are running horizontally and vertically up and down the page. There are 12 of these lines that run vertically. And each of these lines represents something that are called snap points. Snap points are what allows you to add blocks of text and fit different things into different places on the page. Squarespace does this because they're kind of naturally thinking ahead for you. The point here is that they want to make sure that your text aligns on the page and it's not like wonky. See how nice and clean everything fits here? It's all like perfectly aligned here down the edge, and this one's not sticking out a little more, or that one's not a little over to the left, or this one's not a little higher or a little lower. That's because of that grid system. As you can see here, there's 1, 2 columns here, and they dynamically expand and shift. So let me show you what that looks like. In order to see how this column concept works, you're going to shift your page into editing mode. You do that by hovering over the page, clicking on the part of the page you want to edit, and then releasing these prompts. You can see that there's 2 prompts, edit and settings. We're going to begin by clicking on the edit. All right, now as you can see, our page has been shifted into editing mode. So when you hover over different parts of the page, you see these little gray bubbles that appear on the left? These are something called snap points. Snap points is Squarespace's way of helping you to add content blocks to your page, and content blocks are what allows you to actually create text and images and photos, all that stuff on your site. So we have a whole separate module on content blocks. Right now, I want to explain to you how these snap points work. So as you can see, when I hover over this snap point, it's kind of giving me 2 options. One option is to create something that fits and expands the entire width of the page. And the other option is this little one. And it's saying, hey, maybe you only want some text or some image to go directly underneath that has the same dimensions as this image or this block of text. Thanks, Squarespace, I definitely do. If that's the case, then you would just simply click this snap point to reveal all of your content blocks. If you don't want it to fit underneath that one image or that one block of text and it'll in alignment to the same size, instead you click this longer snap point, and then it'll add a bigger content block that will extend across the entire length of the page. So that is how snap points work. These are basically your little buddies to help you align things on the page, and they are the feature and the function that allows you to add new content to the page. So that is how columns work. And if you want to, let me just demonstrate for you quickly how columns kind of work here. As you can see, when I hover over this section, this is where an image meets and a text block meets. And you can see this little arrow that points left and right. This means that I have the capability of dragging content left or right. See how it automatically snaps down? 1, 2, 3. Each time it moves, it's actually snapping into one of those columns. So now it's taking up 1 column, 2, 3, 4. And you can see how these different columns allow you to shift and expand your text across the page, and then correspondingly everything else moves so that it fits dynamically and nothing is left in this wonky, weird, out of place look. It's what allows Squarespace to have this nice, clean design and makes it very intuitive so that everything fits perfectly together on your site. So snap points are our little helpers that allow us to add content, and then columns help us make sure that everything is properly aligned on the site. One thing to note about columns, and this is pretty important, there are 12 of them, but Squarespace does not recommend having any more than 4 or 5 images maximum, or 4 or 5 text blocks maximum, aligned side by side on the site. Once you start to get over that, the columns begin to act a little weird. So my recommendation is to only allow up to 4 or 5 max, preferably 4 images that go across the top if you ever wanted to do some sort of image list. So snap points are our little buddies that allow contact blocks. content blocks, and then the columns are what helps us make sure that our images and our text and everything aligns and looks nice and clean on our site. When you're done modifying anything on your site, always make sure you click the Save button. And there you go. So now you understand a little bit more about content blocks and columns in Squarespace.